And a warm welcome to everyone joining us today. I'm Naomi Christis, and I'm here together with my amazing colleague, Yossi Hasson. And as Vellon mentioned, we will be giving you a session totally focused on the Microsoft Sentinel solutions for Microsoft Business Apps. Now, let's take a look at the agenda for today. First, we'll give an overview of Sentinel and of business apps. I know there are people among you that already know what Sentinel is and might think like, I don't need an overview, just jump right into the content. And you would have a point because this webinar is given via our security channel. But today we did invite some people from the Microsoft business side of the world to this webinar. So they are probably new or newer to Sentinel. So that's why we give a short overview of Sentinel. And for those among you that know a lot about Sentinel, but might be a bit uncertain of what business apps means, we will also include a brief overview of what are business apps. Then we'll transition into the actual solutions capabilities. So how do we protect business apps? And finally, we'll wrap up with a strategic focus so that you know what to expect from us in the future. By the end of our time together, we do hope that you'll have a better view of what the Sentinel solution entails. And hopefully somewhere during this presentation, you think to yourself, let's test this out ourselves. And then Yossi and I can consider this webinar as a success. So first up, like I mentioned in the agenda, we will give an overview of Sentinel and of business apps. Okay, so Sentinel. Sentinel is a cloud-native security information and event management tool and a security orchestration, automation, and response solution from Microsoft. So Sentinel is a modern SIEM solution that really uses the power of the cloud and of artificial intelligence to provide you with a scalable security platform. Now, what does a SIEM system normally do? So it's essentially a data aggregator. So with Sentinel, you can collect data from all your sources, both on-prem and in multiple clouds, and then afterwards, analyze it using threat intelligence and advanced analytics. So Sentinel will help detect threats and helps you prioritize the most important alerts. You can also use Sentinel to hunt for suspicious activities. And as I said in the beginning, Sentinel is also a SOAR. So it also allows you to automate and orchestrate common tasks and workflows by using our built-in or custom playbooks, and this will save you time and resources. Last thing that I want to mention, because actually I can talk for hours about Sentinel, but I need to wrap it up. So last thing, we are also focused on integrating. So Sentinel plays nice with other tools. Say, for example, you need to integrate with ServiceNow. Easy. There are playbooks, for example, that just send your incidents to ServiceNow, if that's the integration that you were looking for. Say you want to utilize GitHub for your code and build a CI/CD pipeline, absolutely doable. Say you want to map your rule coverage to the MITRE framework, we've got you covered. We have a dedicated blade for that. If you want to learn more about our integrations, then I would advise you to take a look at our Content Hub, because this is where you will find our out-of-the-box solutions. But also Yossi, by the way, will highlight the Content Hub just in a few slides. So just in a nutshell, Microsoft Sentinel, it's a cloud-based security tool that collects and enriches your data from various sources. It uses AI for threat detections. It scales effortlessly. You have that streamlined incident response, and you can integrate with other tools. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Sentinel also has Copilot integration. And as you can see in the slide, we also have Copilot integration with the business applications. But let's talk about the Microsoft Business Applications ecosystem. So you can think of this ecosystem as a set of connected tools, which will make your everyday tasks in a company easier and more organized. So at the origin, or core of this ecosystem, we have Dynamics 365. So this is a unified suite that blends ERP and CRM applications across business functions. So sales, marketing, service, finance, and supply chain. The tools that we find interesting for this webinar are Dynamics Finance and Operations and Dynamics Customer Engagements. So F&O helps with tasks like inventory management, order processing, and supply chain optimization. And Dynamics CE is like a friendly assistant for customer-related stuff. So it will keep all your customer interactions very organized. We also have Dataverse, which can be seen as a type of database that unifies both business and customer data. And as you can see in the slide, Dynamics 365 can leverage Dataverse, but not all the tools from Dynamics 365 are built upon it, but some tools are. Anyways, Dataverse can also serve as the data storage platform for various Power Platform tools. So different tools can share and utilize the same data model. And since it has that unified and structured way to store and retrieve data, it's easy to build and integrate applications across the Microsoft ecosystem. So I just mentioned we also have Power Platform in our Microsoft Business Applications ecosystem. And in Power Platform, we also have that suite of tools. For example, we have Power Apps. And you can think of Power Apps as a tool that will empower you, both professional and citizen developers, by the way, to create those custom applications. You can also see Power Automate in the slide, and Power Automate will help you streamline repetitive business processes. And by helping transform your manual jobs into automated workflows, it's a very nice tool to have. And last thing I want to mention on this slide, which is an important tool for this webinar, is PowerBI. So this is a tool that brings data to life with visualizations and analytics. So it's very useful for reporting. But just like with Sentinel, it doesn't stop with the Microsoft stuff. Microsoft Business Application connects also with third-party applications like Salesforce and ServiceNow. So again, we do have that integration part. Okay, that was the quick overview of both Microsoft Business Applications and Microsoft Sentinel. So let's move on. Let's talk about why keeping our business apps safe is super important. When business apps get breached, it's just not only about losing data. You can see it like a domino effect. It will hit everything in your company. If your business apps aren't secure, you risk exposing customer info, essential processes can be messed up, which would result in losing money. And also your reputation can take a big hit when you are when you've been hacked. So it's not just a technical problem, but actually protecting your business apps is a big deal for your entire business. But I don't want to talk only about hypotheticals. We actually have a few news articles listed in this slide of real attacks on business apps. Like, for example, the attack on one of the budget cellular carriers in the US. So that attack happened in January 21. And the attack kicked off with a phishing email, like a lot of attacks. Via the mail, the attackers tricked some retail stores' employees into downloading a seamlessly harmless software update. But the software was actually, well, you guessed it, a malicious program. And in this case, the program granted remote access, which resulted in giving the attackers access into the computers and the CRM system. Via the CRM system, they stole customer data, and afterwards they used this information maliciously. For example, with some of the data, they were able to port customer phone numbers to another service provider. Via this way, they could receive the verification codes that, for example, banks send to customers when you try to log in via text messages. So then the attackers use these codes to log into the customer's accounts and steal money or even other information. So one of the victims reported that the hackers stole from his Coinbase account an amount of $16,000. And even though this breach only affected a small number of customers, the impact is, of course, very significant for those that are affected. Like 16,000 is a lot of money. The leak, by the way, was detected 2 days after the breach. And since then, of course, the company took steps to improve the security and prevent further incidents. But still, here I am talking about the breach. So it does still have an impact on their reputation. By the way, I don't know which CRM system they used or what protection they had. That is not public knowledge. Anyways, this is an example of how huge of an impact it can have for people when business apps do get breached. It's just a quick highlight of what might be interesting for potential attackers. So when hackers target business apps, they are of course, after valuable stuff. So they want to find and mess with sensitive information stored in those apps, like financial records, like banking details. It might be that they just want to extract the data, like the example that I explained. But it also might be that they want to modify the information. But it can also be that they just want to disrupt our everyday operations, like the controlling of your supply chain. So actually, the options for attackers are almost endless. Now, most of us already had a notion of what can happen with a breach, right? Even without me telling you all this. But why don't we protect these critical systems then? Well, the main issue is that it's very tough to monitor what's going on in business systems when bad actors have sneaked into the system. So the security engineers that I have talked to mentioned that they really struggle to understand what's going on inside these apps because they're like a blind spot for them and they don't know what type of data is accessed and how it can be used in a malicious way. And the people that do understand these apps and actually work with these apps every day, they don't always realize the consequences of a security breach. So they also might not know what to look out for, and that's a problem. And this gap, this difference in what security folks know and what the business app users know can leave us vulnerable. The security team might miss some important stuff happening inside the apps, and the everyday users might not realize when something fishy is going on. So what's the solution? We need a bridge over this gap, a way to connect these two worlds. And that's where our strategy for securing our business apps comes in. Now, before we explore how Microsoft Sentinel saves the day, let me quickly point out 3 situations we'll be looking at in this webinar. So the use cases that I'm going to discuss, and Yossi also today, are situations inspired by actual challenges faced by our customers post-Sentinel implementation and which were successfully notified by our Sentinel solution. Now, let's imagine we have a disgruntled employee who has a feeling he might be terminated in the future. Or let's say he's already got a notice to clear his office by the end of the week. Anyways, an unhappy employee. So he decides to take matters into his own hands. This unhappy employee starts extracting CRM records in an attempt to cause harm to the organization. Because he could try to sell customer information or information on leads and deals to a competitor. Anyways, we don't need to worry about this scenario because here comes the dynamic CE protection solution in Sentinel. I will stop here with the explanation of this scenario because I don't want to spoil Yossi's demo of the use case too much, since he will go into detail on the solution and the resolution. Moving on, in another scenario, a soon-to-be ex-employee again, he creates a Power Automate flow. And this one will be set to run even after departure. And this might look like a regular routine flow, right? But it does pose a potential threat when performed with malicious intent. And again, not going into too much detail, but Power Platform solution on Sentinel will be able to detect this. Lastly, within Dynamics F&O, this employee attempts to alter bank account numbers to fraudulent ones. Fortunately, our F&O Sentinel solution has detected the suspicious activity, so we had time to intervene and to reverse the changes. Now let me give the mic to Yossi so he can explain the solution that will help against these malicious activities. Yossi?
Thank you, Naomi, for this great overview. Let me share my screen, and I'll get right away. Okay, I'm with you guys. So again, Naomi, thank you for this great overview. Very happy to be here with you and with the attendees of this webinar. My name is Yossi. I'm a product manager in the Microsoft Sentinel product group, focused on solutions for business applications on Sentinel. And I will give you more details about the Sentinel solutions for business applications that we have today, and I will also demo the solutions for you. So before we actually start to deep dive into the solution or the solutions themselves, let's spend a minute explaining what are Microsoft Sentinel solutions. So a Microsoft Sentinel solution is actually a package integration that delivers end-to-end product value for a specific domain or a vertical scenario. We have more than 300 solutions today in Sentinel, and those solutions enable customers to easily ingest data, monitor this data, alert on threats, hunt for incidents and threats, investigate them, respond them, and generally connect with different products, platforms, and services. Those package integrations or solutions are actually a collections of multiple components of Microsoft Sentinel that allow all of the capabilities that I just mentioned. So for example, data connectors and parsers that allow the ingestion of the log and the parsing of the logs from different sources, workbooks that allows you to monitor and see trends in a dashboard of the logs, analytic rules that are actually the detections that trigger incidents, hunting queries, notebooks, watch lists that allow additional capabilities, and playbooks and logic app connectors that allow automation and response, or basically the SOAR capabilities. All of those are packaged into a single package as a solution. And let's introduce the Sentinel solutions for Microsoft BizApps. So this is a solution vision slide. That's what we are planning to have in the last as the overall solution in the future. Today we have some of those capabilities implemented, and we'll discuss exactly about which of those. But the idea here is that we want to help customers detect and act on business application threats with the help of Sentinel as a cloud-native SIEM powered by AI and automation capabilities. And for this, we provide 4 main pillars that are very important for detecting and handling threats in business applications. The first one is the monitoring, so the ability to actually get the logs and audits from the different Microsoft BizApps into Sentinel, into this tool, so we are able to actually analyze them. The second point, or the second pillar, is the detection. So that's one of the most important pillars here, ability to detect relevant business application threats and malicious activities. And we were covering wide selection of threats and malicious activities, such as data exfiltration, suspicious changes, unauthorized data access, and more. The next pillar is the investigation of suspicious BizApps activities. So it's not enough to just show the incident, show the detection. We want to allow SOC analysts in the SOC to have the tools to investigate and understand those activities and those threats deeper. So allowing things such as guided investigation, enriching the incidents with more context, allowing threat hunting capabilities, cross-correlation between different data sources, and so on. And last, and especially not least, is closing the loop, disrupting and responding to business app threats, business app related threats, using the capabilities that we have in Sentinel as a SIEM. So things such as blocking sensitive activities once we discover that that's what the attacker is going to do, limiting user or endpoint access to the different workloads, modifying permissions, and so on. Those are the capabilities that we are looking at. In terms of which workloads we cover today, so and that's what we'll focus on in this in the rest of this presentation, is Dynamics 365 CE apps, so the CRM elements of Microsoft Business Applications, Dynamics 365 F&O, so finance and operations, the ERP elements of Microsoft BizApps, and Power Platform and Power Apps, and the other power related components there that are mostly referred as the no-code, low-code capabilities of Microsoft BizApps. So let's talk about Dynamics 365 CE Apps solution. So it is currently in public preview, and it includes multiple different elements, and I'll cover most of them right now. So first, of course, data connector. Data connector in Sentinel, that collects activity logs from Dataverse. Dataverse, to remind you, is the underlying database infrastructure of Dynamics CE apps. In Dataverse, you have actually all the data that you manage in Dynamics 365 sales and so on. And the data connector will collect all of the activity logs, create, read, update, deletes from the Dataverse. It's not enough to just enable the data connector. It's also important to enable auditing on the Dataverse itself. That's not an easy task, and for that we actually provide also a Dataverse auditing enablement solution. It's a Power Platform solution. It's actually a zip file that you import into a Power Platform, and this enables auditing for the common Dynamics 365 CE apps Dataverse entities. You don't have to use it, you can do it manually, but that's a way to automate and simplify the auditing enablement for Dataverse. Next, and I think the most important one, the most important part is the built-in detections or the out-of-the-box detections or analytic rules that we have today for Dynamics 365 CE apps. So today we have about 16 different analytic rules that are covering a very wide range of threats and potentially malicious activities. So things such as blocking, such as bulk record retrieval outside normal activity hours, mass export of records to Excel, will show this in the demo. Mass deletion of records is also covered. Changes in settings such as encryption settings changes, new user agents that are accessing Dynamics 365. If you have a Tor browser that is now accessing Dynamics, maybe you want to know about it. Suspicious changes in user and system configurations, access grants at application API layer, and more. I won't go through all of them. And in addition to the built-in detections, we also have a workbook, or we can refer it as a dashboard, that covers multiple elements, multiple activities that will help you see trends in how your users are using Dynamics, and also help you find anomalies. And we'll also do a brief demo of that in the demo itself. You'll see things like record retrieval trends, export, deletions, and so on. And you'll also see details about new users, rare user agents, and so on. And last but not least, threat hunting queries. So those are tools that helps you actually analyze the logs and activities after the fact and try to hunt and find malicious activities semi-manually. So those threat hunting queries are pre-built queries that helps you detect some typical malicious or potentially malicious activities. For this, for example, we do have built-in threat hunting queries for Dataverse activities after failed logons to Azure AD or Entra ID, or it's called Entra ID, how it's called today, and Dataverse activities after Entra ID security alerts. That's what you have today in public preview, but coming soon, it's important for me to tell you that we have other capabilities coming up. So many more analytic rules, about 20 or 30 additional analytic rules are coming up that will do cross correlations with other data sources such as Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office, SharePoint, and others. We'll be able to analyze activities from malware-infected devices. We'll have integration with threat intelligence, some data exfiltration attempts by terminated employees detection, and more. We'll also add playbooks and automation capabilities to block suspicious user access to Dynamics, notify employee manager on suspicious activities, and so on. And we'll also integrate additional data source, which is actually the security model or the master data of Dataverse that will help us provide you visibility to the business units, teams, roles, system user mappings, and essentially to users that have very high privileges and are pose a higher risk to your organization, and based on that, analyze the activities in a better and more detailed way. Let's talk quickly about the architecture of this connector, right? So pretty simple architecture in this case. So the Microsoft Dataverse is pushing its activity logs into Microsoft 365 Purview Audit. And the Microsoft Sentinel Microsoft Sentinel connector fetches this audit data directly from the Microsoft 365 Purview Audit. And that's the time for demo. What are we going to demo now? So to remind you, we talk about a scenario of an employee that gets a termination notice. He is disgruntled and angry, and now he wants to revenge and to take advantage of what he can. And the first thing he does when he gets this termination notice is to start extracting CRM records, so details about customers, accounts, opportunities, and so on, so he can maybe save them for the next place he's going to work or sell them and so on. And let's see how we can detect this with the Sentinel solution. So I'll start the demo with a brief overview of Sentinel and Content Hub before I jump into the detection itself. So what you see here is the Sentinel overview screen. So you see overall view about the incidents that we have today, about the data that is flowing through the different data connectors into Sentinel, the analytics that are enabled, and automation. In this case, we still don't have automation rules enabled, so we don't see any details there. But we do have 9 incidents that are new that happened happened today in the last 24 hours, and we'll review some of them. Next thing, let's go into the Content Hub. So remember I told you about solutions, Sentinel solutions. How do you deploy? How do you find and deploy a Sentinel solution? You go to Content Hub. And in Content Hub, let's look for the Dynamics. Oops, I'm in the wrong language. Let's look for the Dynamics solutions. And here it is, Dynamics 365 CE Apps solution. That's a solution that's in preview. It's already installed. If it wasn't installed, you'll have the install button here. You'll click install, and in a matter of a minute or two, it will be installed in your Sentinel workspace with all of the content elements that I reviewed earlier. But let's manage this solution and see what it contains. So we see here the list of the different analytics rules that we have in the solution today. We see here the list of the 2 hunting queries and also the workbook. The connector is also part of the solution. It doesn't show up here in this view right now. Let's jump quickly to the incident itself that was detected using this solution. So here it is, Dynamics 365 mass export of records to Excel. So this is an analytic rule that we enabled, and it actually triggered an incident. Let's look at the full details of this incident and what we can learn from that. So we see that it's a medium severity incident. There is a description that explains what happened. So user Ligu, and remember this name Ligu, he is our disgruntled employee, was detected exporting to Excel 254 records in a single day in Contoso Bank CRM, that's environment name, which is significantly more than the baseline export activity of this user. So this analytic rules actually builds a baseline of what's a typical baseline activity, export to Excel activity for that user. And when it detects deviations for that baseline, it creates a detection. And you can see more details about this activity. You can see the different entities that are involved. You can see it also here in more details. So the name, the full username of the employee, its IP address, and the CRM, the Dynamics 365 environment in which it was detected. And if you go into the what we call custom details, you can also see additional details such as what is the export rate baseline that we calculated this for this customer, for this user, and what was the detected export rate, and also again, what is the instance name. It's also interesting to look at similar incidents. So it's actually not the first time that this user did a mass export of records to Excel, and we can see similar incidents of that. One more thing that I want to show you before we move to the next solution is the workbook that we have for Dynamics 365 activities. So as you can imagine, that's a mock demo environment. It doesn't have real customer activities. So not all of the widgets are populated here, but I think you'll understand what are the capabilities here. So this workbook is split to different tabs. First one shows you record retrieval events. So very clearly, how much records were retrieved based on in the history. You can also see different anomalies and the baseline, total retrievals, and so on. And if you want to focus on a specific user, for let's see, for example, at Ligu, you can look at specific retrievals that Ligu was doing, trends over time, specific resources that he viewed, and so on. And you can also do the same based on top 10 IP addresses. We have similar dashboards here for record deletion events. They're not populated. Similar for record export events, same here, still not populated in this demo or mock-up environment. Email events, so total emails that different users sent out directly from Dynamics. And another tab here, very interesting one, is the other events that shows things as new users that are observed in the last 30 days, rare user agents that we don't see a lot, and new actions, so different types of activity logs that were observed in the last 30 days. So that's it for the Dynamics 365 CE solution, and let's get to the next one. So the next one is the Sentinel solution for Power Platform. So to remind you, Power Platform is Microsoft's no-code, low-code platform that allows citizen developers and professional developers to develop quickly their own applications and automations and so on. It includes a lot of built-in connectors and so on. And the threat of this is clear. Those citizen developers are not very security savvy in most of the cases, and they might open the organization to vulnerabilities and threats using those Power Apps and Power Automate capabilities that you want to monitor and you want to detect threats on. So this solution monitors the Power Platform activity logs, detects Power Platform threats and suspicious activities, and also allows you to leverage Sentinel tools to investigate and respond to those Power Platform security incidents. Which activity logs do we cover today? So the same one that we covered in Dynamics 365 CApps, Dataverse is also covered here, as Dataverse is used a lot as the database for the different Power Apps. In addition to that, we cover the different log sources of Power Platform. So Power Apps, admin activities, Power Automate, Power Platform connectors, and Power Platform DLP. Another interesting connector is the Power Platform inventory. This actually doesn't bring in from Power Platform activity logs. It brings in inventory details about the different Power Platform environment, Power Apps, and connectors, Power Platform connectors that the customer has that you have in your environment. And this the availability of this inventory, of those inventory details in Sentinel, helps us to simplify the investigation experience of incidents by the SOC analysts. It allows, for example, resolution of unreadable GUIDs of environments to human readable environments and Power Apps names, and we'll show it in demo in a moment. Another connector that is coming up is the Power Platform Admin Activities connector. So that's a new data source, a new log source that was launched lately by the Power Platform team, and we'll also connect it to Sentinel soon. What are the kinds of out-of-the-box threats that we cover today with the solution? So a wide range of coverage, still not as wide as we have for the CApp solution, but we are extending and adding more and more coverage as time goes by, and we'll be happy to get your feedback and your requirements about additional threats that you want us to cover. So things like Power App activities from unauthorized geos, access to malicious links, maybe phishing links through Power Apps, bulk Power App deletion, Power Apps originated data destruction in Dataverse, new Power Platform connectors that are added to sensitive environment, departing employees, automated Power Automate activity, which could be very dangerous, and we'll show it in the demo, and also updates and removals of Power Platform DLP policy, which is also very sensitive. This is in public preview, but for the coming few weeks, it is you still need to sign up for this preview. You will have the link to the sign up in the end of the presentation. You'll be able to sign up. For those of you that already signed up to this preview and we didn't enable you for the preview, that's because we have very high demand for this preview and we have limited availability. We'll try to enable everyone we can. However, in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks max, the gate on this public preview will be lifted and everyone will be able to use this public preview without signing up, and we'll make sure to update everyone on that. A little bit about the architecture of this of those data connectors. So it starts with the same architecture that we had for the CApps connector. So Dataverse is part of that, but here we have actually more. We have Power Platform connected, and for Power Platform, we actually look at two different kinds of connectors. One is the activity logs connector that covers all of the activities that we talked about. They also flow through the purview audit, and we fetch them into Sentinel. And the other kind of connector is the one that brings in the inventory data for Power Platform. This one relies on the Power Platform inventory data export capability in Power Platform. It actually brings in or writes all of the details into a data lake V2 storage account. And as a part of the solution, we provide a function app that uses a managed identity to actually fetch this data this inventory data from the data lake and push it into a table in Sentinel that we can query in the different detections analytic rules that we have. Okay, let's look at the demo for the Power Platform solution. So what is the use case? I remind you, disgruntled employee got a termination notice, and now he wants to create a Power Automate flow. He's going to create a Power Automate flow that will be scheduled to delete data, delete very important business data after he leaves the company. And this is actually based on a real customer case. Let's see how this looks like. So we are back in Sentinel. And this time we'll start with the incident that was detected itself. So this is the incident, Power Automated. Let's look at the full details so we can easily see all of the details. So terminated user create a flow activity detected. And if you look at the description, by the way, severity is high in this case, look at the description. So Ligu, same employee, is on the terminated employees watch list, and I'll show you the watch list in a moment and explaining what it means. And he carried out a create flow in Contoso Bank Power Platform environment. And if you want to examine the flow in Power Automate Maker Portal, you can actually click here. And once we click here, you go directly into the Power Platform Maker Portal, and you can see actually the Power Automate flow. And he wasn't very wise, and he called it delete all data. If I was instead of him, I would call it in a more stealthy name. But anyway, let's go back to the incident itself. So we see details about different entities involved. So the username, the different services that are involved, and so on. And we also see details about that we get from the inventory connector. So you don't see only the environment ID, we also see the environment name that we also saw in the description, and the Power Automate flow name that is also that we also saw before, and we were able to look at. Also here, you have similar incidents and so on. So that's a very important detection. I told you that this employee is on the terminated employees watch list. That's why we triggered the detection for him. And let's show you what a watch list is. So a watch list is a way for you to configure additional capabilities and settings and things you want to watch and track using analytic rules in Sentinel. And one of the built-in watch list that we are using in this solution is the terminated employee list. And that list could be actually updated manually or using a CSV file with details about employees that got a notice lately. And as you see, we made sure, or the customer made sure that once Lee got this termination notice, he will be added to this list and will be able to notify and analyze all of his activities and make sure that we trigger detections on malicious or suspicious activities. Let's look quickly at the solution in Content Hub, how it looks like. So Power Platform, here it is. Same idea here, you deploy the solution through Content Hub, and when you click Manage, you'll see the list of a lot of data connectors here. As we told you, we look at the different data sources in Power Platform, the inventory connector, and also the Dataverse connector. You can see the different detection rules that we covered, and also parsers that helps us parse the logs and make them easier to read and analyze. So that's the Content Hub solution. I also want to quickly show you how the data connectors view look like. So that's where you look at the data connectors that you deployed using the different solutions, and you check their status. So you see here for example, the Microsoft Power Automate connector, you see that it's green, it's connected. You see the number of logs that we see through the different days and so on. And this will also take us to the next demo, the FNO demonstration. But first, let's go through a slide that explains the FNO solution. So FNO, our ERP side of the game, includes a bit of more limited capabilities, a data connector that collects activity logs from Dynamics 365 FNO. It's actually based on the Dynamics 365 FNO APIs. We'll look at the architecture in a moment. And it has built-in detections for different activities that we believe are suspicious and relevant in the ERP perspective. So must update or deletion of user records, that's maybe more of like infrastructure or settings related. Things that are more related to the business itself, such as bank account changes following network alias reassignment or reverted bank account number modifications, and things such as unusual sign-in activities using single-factor authentication, which shouldn't be used, and mapping of non-interactive accounts to self or sensitive privilege users. How does the architecture of that look like? So this data connector uses a function app that, as I said, it uses the Dynamics FNO APIs to fetch the activity logs from Dynamics FNO, and it pushes them directly into Sentinel. Another demo here. So the scenario, again, is that this terminated employee wants to change the bank account number of a vendor that he knows that a payment is expected to be done to that vendor, and he wants to actually make sure that this payment gets to his bank account and not the vendor. That's also a case that was mentioned by customers in our different interviews, and it's very important for customers to be able to detect those fraudulent activities. Let's see how this looks like in Sentinel. So we are in the Content Hub area. You've seen before the Dynamics FNO connector. Let's look at the Dynamics FNO Finance and Operations solution in Content Hub. You get the idea already. We'll manage it, and we'll see the connector and the different detection rules that we reviewed. And then let's have a look at the incident. The relevant incident. So FNO, bank account number change following network alias reassignment. So what Lee did is try to exploit a capability to actually change the network alias of a user in FNO. The users in FNO are not the users that we have in Active Directory. There are users that are built into FNO, and you need to map an Active Directory users to them, and based on that, your permissions are defined. And what he did, he actually modified John Strong, which is a user that has permissions to change bank account numbers. Lee Gu does not have those permissions. He modified his user account network alias to his user network account alias, and then he changed the bank account number of vendor X bank account. And you can also see some more details about the activity that he did. So the bank account number name that was changed was this one. The old bank account number was this mock number. The new bank account number was that mock number. And you see which user in FNO he changed the network alias for. It was John Strong, and he changed it from John Strong to his own user. In this stage, I want to show you the overall view about what Lee Gu did across all of the different solutions, or all of the different detections that we had of Lee Gu. Let's hope that it will load up quickly. Takes a moment. Well, the gods of demos doesn't always work with us. So we'll show it from another place. I'll show you the investigation graph of Sentinel. So that's an incident investigation graph that allows you to see in a more of a graphical way the incident activities. And you see that Ligu was involved in this event. Other users that were involved here, John, and we see Ligu again, and you see the incident itself. And what's interesting, you can see also related alerts. So you can see all of the different alerts that Ligu was involved in, and you will see here all of the different alerts that were that he was involved, that we covered in the last in the demos and so on. So that's it with the FNO demo. Let's go on. So I've showed you the three different solutions that we have. We're a bit of short in time, but I want to quickly go through the strategy that we have around those solutions. So to make sure you're aware of a little bit of what's coming up. Those are not detailed roadmap items, but just overall strategy. So first thing that we want to do is to unify those different solutions. So looking forward, looking ahead, we are planning to actually unify all of the connectors and analytic rules that you've seen in those previous solutions to a single unified solution that will also provide you cross correlations between different BizApps workloads. So that is something that we still didn't have, and that will come up soon. The private previews for that are coming up soon, and do contact us if you're interested to participate. Next point in our strategy is to make those solutions much more extensive, to make the solution much more extensive. So we're planning to actually extend the BizApps workload coverage to other elements that are still not covered, such as Power BI, Power Pages, and so on. We're planning to extend to more detection use cases, so things like fraud and posture compliance, separation of duties, and so on, and to extend to more capabilities that you've seen in the vision slide, things such as guided investigation, response actions, and attack disruption, and so on, and also integrating master data. Last but not least, we are intending to make this a premium solution. So it's important to understand that what we just presented here is a full threat detection solution and platform for Microsoft BizApps. It's not just a SIEM add-on. It's not just a connector. It's a unified full threat detection solution. And this unified solution will be GA'd as a premium offering. It will have different pricing than Sentinel, and pricing information will be available before general availability of the unified solution. I do want to give you a sneak peek to the Power BI mini solution. So no demo for that, but just a sneak peek of what's coming up soon. So that's a solution that focuses on reports, oversharing, detection, and response. It facilitates using Sentinel 3 important steps. Step 1, it actually detects and tracks overshared Power BI reports, leverages analytic rules, watch lists, and playbooks to track those reports that are overshared with large AAD groups. In step 2, it actually uses automations to notify the report owner of this oversharing, and it calls for action. So notifying the violation to the report owner, and then allow him a predefined time that you can define to remove overshared permissions. The last step is to escalate to the security team if the oversharing is not resolved. And in this case, if the oversharing permissions are not removed within this predefined time, it escalates to whichever team or alias you would want to configure for this escalation, and those will be able to remove the oversharing on behalf of users. The solution automatically sends those emails and notifications to the report owner, the Power BI security team, and so on. It does have also like built-in templates for those emails. You can use them, or you can also modify for yourself. That's it for my side about the different solutions and a little bit of what's coming. And Naomi, back to you.
Thanks, Yossi. I'll use this time to close off. So thank you so much, guys, for being part of our webinar today. We hope you find it helpful and interesting. If you're eager to learn more, we've got some fantastic resources for you on this slide. So you can dive, for example, into our blog post or into our documentation, because they will give you the details about the topics that we just covered today. And then it would be great if you try out our solution. So please go ahead and dive into the features and functionality that we discussed today. And we would really like to hear from you. So your feedback is like gold to us. Tell us about your experience, share any thoughts or questions you have. We're here to help and improve the solution based on what you need. And to make it easy for you to reach out with feedback, please use the form in the slide to contact us. And I see that we are at time, so I will close off with this slide. So thanks again for spending your time with us. We're looking forward to hearing your thoughts, and have a fantastic day. Jacqueline?
Thank you, Naomi, and Yossi as well. And we have here just one more minute to go here, and let me just see. Although the team here answered bulk of the questions, I just want to see what has remained here. So there were some pricing related questions, which I'm not sure if you have an answer to that one. How is the pricing for Purview and Sentinel log data determined?
Great question. So as I said in my review, the pricing details for this solution will be published when we get closer to GA. For now, for the preview phase, the only cost that you pay for is the logs ingestion into Sentinel, but that could change in GA.
Thank you, Yossi. Yeah, there's a theme of questions regarding the pricing, but hopefully that will be answered soon. So I'm not gonna go all over the pricing questions. So I'll wrap it up here. Thank you, Yossi and Naomi, for being our guests and for sharing this great information with our community. Also, I would like to thank our SMEs who helped us with answering the questions and providing the resourceful informations through various links there. And to all listeners still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desires to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/security community. This is also where you'll be notified about the upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. Also, please take a minute submitting your feedback at aka.ms/security webinar feedback. For those of you who may have additional questions on the topic we just covered, please feel free to fill out the form I posted. This is the form that Naomi mentioned also, which will be part of the deck. So you can directly discuss it with our Microsoft Sentinel product or engineering teams. And thank you all for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.